Hey, Margie here. Did you know that you can significantly improve the quality of your life, your bones, your overall health with some fun, laughter, play, and humor? Well, today we're going to focus on this because it's a piece that's very important and so many of us just forget to put into our lives. I'm excited about our special guest, Heather Gray. And Heather is a functional diagnostic nutritionist and bioenergetic practitioner, specializing in supporting clients with chronic and complex illnesses such as Lyme disease, mold toxicity, and autoimmune diseases. With over 32 years of personal experience, she understands the struggles of living with these conditions and is dedicated to helping others find relief. Her personal approach as a practitioner, podcast author, and yes, stand-up comedian has helped countless clients reduce inflammation in their bodies and brains, improve their gut health, and achieve optimal wellness. And this fun, play, humor piece is a part of everything she does. So in our conversation, she tells us how she incorporates it and really gives you some ways that you can start putting this into your life. So lots of great information. Stay tuned. Welcome, Heather, to the podcast. So happy to have you here.
Woohoo! Excited to be here.
This topic is so important because I see this every day. People just are not putting humor, fun in their life, and it's so healing. And it's just, this is as equally important as every other aspect of our health, which we do pay attention to. So before we get started, I always love to know the backstory. So why don't you share how you got into both functional medicine and comedy and how you merged them? Because I think it's wonderful and I think it's just so helpful.
Thank you. I love the twinkle in your eye and your smile. Like you can tell you're ready to play, and I'm ready to play too. Like I'm like a golden retriever. I'm like, let's play.
Yes.
Yeah. So my story starts at the very beginning. I was basically born full of shit. Like how many of your patients, right, can relate to being constipated as kids? And that started my journey of throwing Band-Aids at symptoms, right? Stool softeners, laxatives, thick, nasty oils, but nobody was asking why this 4-year-old couldn't poop. Hindsight's 2020. That was the year my uncle committed suicide. That was the year my grandmother died of breast cancer, and I was being raised by alcoholic addicts. So needless to say, my ACE score, the only thing my mom gave me was a high ACE score. If you don't know, it's adverse childhood experiences. It was a huge study done by Kaiser, showing a direct correlation to early childhood trauma and autoimmune and chronic illness later on in life. So begins the perfect storm, right? I think one of the biggest things I love to educate on is most people think that it's just so cause and effect. I got bit by a tick, I got Lyme disease. I got this and I got that. I got this and I got that. And I'm always trying to tell people there was usually something in motion and play 5, 10, 15, 20 years before you got your diagnosis. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, set the stage. So early childhood trauma, I'm pretty sure it kicked off my celiac gene, which I was eating a standard American diet, right? The SAD diet. And, leaky gut, leaky brain. So by the time I was in my teens and I got bit by a tick, I was a perfect host. I was the perfect storm, right? Leaky gut, malnourished. I think I was living in mold, a lot of trauma. So fast forward a little bit, I'm 15 with my first suicide attempt. Again, nobody trying to figure out what's wrong with this 15-year-old, right? Why she's trying to off herself. Antidepressants, antipsychotics, mood stabilizers. You're just attention seeking, honey. And they sent me back out the door, right? So rinse and repeat. Long story short, 27 years of undiagnosed Lyme disease, mold toxicity, 3 autoimmune diseases, 100 pounds overweight, 2 stints in the psych ward for suicide attempts. I finally got diagnosed when I was 34 years old. And right off the bat, I'm working with with an osteopath who I thought was going to be a little bit more on the functional and the holistic side, but he went straight traditional, tons of antibiotics, tons of anti-malarial. He went to war with a body who'd been sick for 3 decades, still wasn't pooping, wasn't asking me about my stress level, wasn't asking me about how I was sleeping, right? I thought I was going to die. And it was a podcast, right? I was watching Reed Davis with Sean Croxton, Underground Wellness back in the day. And I was a silly hairstylist at the time. I didn't have a background in health, but intuitively something just tinged and I was like, that's it. That's where I'm going to get my help. And going through the course, you actually have to do a couple labs on yourself. So you become your guinea pig. And it turned out I had blastocystis hominis, which is a pretty common parasite, especially for people who have pets, and, heavy metal toxicity. My hormones were in the tank, all the things that, FDN helps clean up. And 3 months later, my life had completely did a 180. Like, it was amazing. Since then, I also had to detox mold. I had to do some nervous system resetting because we're also finding out that early childhood trauma causes, fight or flight, really hard to heal in that state. So I've been doing that since 2013. And then this last year, do you know Dr. Sam Shea? He belongs to Mindshare.
I do know him. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, has he? That's awesome. So he's on the spectrum.
Also. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's in stand-up and he lives one town over from me. And so because we're in Mindshare, and I was like, oh, let's meet in person for lunch. Great. So I go to Boulder, 5 minutes talking to him. And he looks at me, he goes, have you ever thought about doing stand-up? And I said, why on earth would I do that to myself? He goes, because I know you want to do more keynote speaking. He's like, it looks really good on a CV and it gives you a whole new skill set. And I was like, tell me more. And he goes, do you have any trauma in your life? I said, how long do you have for lunch? And so I took the class that he's taken several times, the same teacher. She's amazing. And one of the scariest things I've ever done, and it's been absolutely, I now tour with a company called Moms Unhinged. And so it's a group of 50 women comics across the United States. Most of them are based here in Colorado. That's their head location. Like, my stand-up is not a typical stand-up's journey. It feels like I'm on a rocket ship. But it's been like, if nothing ever happens, if I don't ever get to do anything else with this comedy, it's given me permission to be more playful in all areas of my life, because I told you how I grew up. I told you about all the trauma, like the Lyme disease. This is all very heavy. For the longest time, Heather's got a stick up her ass. Heather's, kind of was the Karen, quote unquote. And it was just because, laughter wasn't really allowed in my house. Like, we were allowed anger and anger. That was basically the only emotion that was allowed in my house. So, I didn't know how to play. I didn't know how to be silly. And going through this class has taught me. I'm playing with people at the grocery store. I'm playing with people in line at the airport. I'm having a freaking blast. Like, I can't ever see living life any other way than just full on play, right? And it is the biggest part, especially those of us with chronic illness, type A personalities, right? Grind. Play was never, even look at our school systems, it's usually the arts and the play that get the budget cuts first, and sciences and math, they're just as important, if not more, I think, because it's really hard to do all the other stuff if you don't have those creative juices flowing. So.
Quite a story, but yet there's just so many pieces to look at in it. Number one, so many of us think, oh gosh, I have osteoporosis. That's it. Let's go to treatment. Not thinking all of these things that could possibly be root causes may have started quite a long time ago, number one. Number two, we can't, I'm such a big believer and you have to dig deep and figure it out. But number two, I think, and really why I wanted you on here, is the importance of play, of humor, of fun, why we don't do this and how important it is. And look how it's been so life-changing to you. And really maybe share some ways we can incorporate that into our life. So let's start with the health benefits, because I know then you incorporate this in your courses and with people you work with. So you want to just talk about the health benefits of humor and play. And
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorites is that it helps you to stay present. Like, just the name in itself, present, right? It's a gift to be present. They say, what's the old expression, that living in the past causes depression, living in the future causes anxiety. But when we're laughing and we're having fun, we are right here, right now. We're not worried about the bills. We're not worried about our diagnosis. We're right here, right now, which is really the only place that we can play in, right? So stop stealing from your joy every day by worrying about the past or worrying about the future. Laughing helps you stay present right here, right now. So I love that part about being silly and having fun. And another one is that it helps reduce stress. So laughter lowers levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, right? Helping to reduce stress, promote relaxation, which is beneficial for overall health. Most of us are in that fight or flight state, as Americans. It's toxic, it's fast paced, we're not getting enough sleep. So anytime you can do things to reduce stress, oh, it used to drive me bonkers. Doctors, they tell you, you got to reduce the stress in your life, but they would never give you, right, tools on how. So I learned somatic experiencing work, I learned breath work, I learned meditation, and then now I'm learning laughter. And all these things combined help reduce stress.
And I just want to say for everyone with osteoporosis, there's been studies that show that increased cortisol, the stress hormone, reduces the bone building cells, the osteoblasts, so reduces the activity of the osteoblast. It also increases the activity of the osteoclast, the cells that are breaking down bone. So there's data, there's human data, there's animal data, that even social stress. So all of these things, people really underplay them and don't realize it's just as important as everything else you're doing. And as a physical therapist for over 40 years, I saw when people don't heal, they don't heal when they're in that fight flight, when they're in that what's called the sympathetic state, they don't heal. So by adding these pieces, it can really make such a big difference. And yeah, so when the research on laughter yoga even is incredible when people start having fun. Yeah, so I just love that.
I remember the first time I tried laughter yoga, it was about 15 years ago. I know it was about 10 years ago. So it was right around the start of my healing journey back in 2013. And this was way before I was still wound way too tight. And I sat at the back and looked at everybody like, oh my God, what am I doing? Who are these people? What the WTF? I really struggled with being silly. And now, like I said, I welcome it in every aspect. I was in New York with Mary Agnes a couple of months ago, and we went and saw a Broadway show. And the elevator was as big as an apartment. I've never seen an elevator like this. I started running circles around the elevator. Next thing I know, this cute little Asian chick starts running with me. And then her friends over there with the video, and we're laughing our butts off. And, I never expected in a million years to have another person play with me like that. New York, I have to give them props. Like, people in New York were ready to play. Like, every corner, everywhere I went, not once did somebody leave me hanging in New York. They were always willing to engage and play. So kudos, New York.
All right, Heather. So where do we start? Someone's listening and they're like, yeah, I don't do that at all in my day. I don't. So let's start. Like, where would the first step be? And maybe lead us into different possibilities that we could right now even start putting it into our lives.
Absolutely. So, step one is not taking yourself so seriously, right? None of us is getting out of here alive, right? Like, finding humor in the little day things all the time is a great place to start. Laughing when you make a mistake. How many of us where it's just like devastating to fail or devastating to make a mistake, and really that's where a lot of the magic lies, is in those failures and in those mistakes. So can we laugh at it? Can we joke a little bit more, be a little bit easier with that? Starting the day with a humor break. Is there a funny show that you like to watch, or a specific comedian that always gets you a good laugh? There are so many now podcasts, and like comedy is like on demand. So if you can't find something that's funny, you probably don't have a pulse. Like, so find something that resonates with you. The laughter yoga, actually I'd love to retry that again, because like I said, I haven't been back since I did it the first time and I thought everybody was on crack. So it would be a totally completely different experience. And I know laughter yoga is almost everywhere. And I've even seen it on Zoom. I've seen people do laughter yoga classes on Zoom, so taking a stand-up or an improv class, because again, like, how much fun is it to learn this new skill set, right? That you can put into almost every aspect of your life. Like I said, the money that I've spent on these classes absolutely have been paid back. My ROI is like 10,000 times over, so those were some of the places that you could start.
Yeah, I think the key is to prioritize it and to realize that, I've had people put it on their phone, like if there's something funny, put it on your phone or a funny picture or experience it, just so you can like stop and look at it and laugh if there's some, just like you said. So you gave so many good suggestions. Yeah, I've had that with my community. There's someone who teaches laughter yoga. So we've had a couple sessions and it's so much fun, everybody, but you have to get there and just let loose. And I think once people do that, you realize your endorphins go up, and also happiness. That's why I make such a big deal about happiness in everything I do, because that's correlated with increased bone density as well. And so being, joyful and having humor and fun in your life, I just see that it's zapped out of people's life. It's so sad and it doesn't have to be that way. And so, yes, I couldn't agree more in terms of that. Let's talk about play, because, you mentioned mindfulness and, being present. And I agree, because we are, and just everybody listening, where are you living? Are you living in the past? Are you living and worried about the future? But you can't. That present moment is where all the magic happens. So I love that you brought that up. But you want to talk more about play and why it's just not, why do we stop play?
Yeah, especially since, like I said, a lot of us that I know that are a little more predisposition to chronic illness, they didn't. It was tough for me because I didn't know how. Like I said, as a little kid, I didn't know how to play. It was not allowed. So how awesome it is to be able to like get to relive like a do-over, right, from your childhood. I have a little park down the street from where I live. Love walking down there and getting just on the swings and getting on the jungle gym, right? Or, maybe your play is basketball or more of a, organized type sports thing, or maybe it is laughing, or it's, whatever your hobby is that's not goal oriented at all. Like none. Like take goals off. And that's the interesting thing that I've had to run into with comedy is I've done a comedy contest now, which I won, and then I got into another one and I found myself taking all the fun out of it again because there was an expectation and I was like, no, no, Heather, that's not why we're doing comedy. So the day that I stop having fun with it and it's just goal oriented is the day that I get out. So I just I don't want to suck the fun. I don't want to suck the fun out of comedy. And you can, right? You can suck the fun out of anything, coming at it from the wrong expectations. So I think that's huge too, is just getting rid of all expectations. I see it in my kid. Anytime he tried something new, within like 2 seconds, he would get so frustrated and want to give up. It's like, no, dude, like that's part of the process. Like it's okay to fail, So again, getting out of your own way, what lights you up? Think back when you were a kid. What was it that lit you up? Did you like playing with Barbies or were you a, play with truck person or did you like the easy bake oven? A lot of the things that can bring and light up your today is what lit you up from the get-go, So if you can try to remember on some of those things, make believe. One of our biggest manifestation tools in our creativity is our imagination and make believe. And as adults, we've completely gone away from that. We'll use our imaginations to make believe the worst, right? That I'm going to lose everything. My business is going to suck. My husband's going to cheat on me, all the bad things. Let's use our imagination for some fun. Like, what do you want in your life?
Yeah, no, that's also very good. And I think in terms of what can you tell yourself, like when you're okay, so let's say like dancing, you can just turn on music and just have fun and play with it and not even worry about what you look like or anything. But what are some of the things you should tell yourself, like if you're going to if someone just can't do it, what do you tell the people you work with? Any suggestions on how to just look well or where to,
The only way out is through, so all those areas that you have got resistance on, I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna say, stick with it, right? Like lean into that edge. All too often we think, oh, it triggers me. That means I don't have to do it. No, it triggers you. That's actually where you should be digging into because that's usually where the gold is. So if you're uptight, type A, wound a little too tight, and you have a hard time being silly, then I'm going to write you a script. I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to write you a script to be silly because that's where a lot of the magic is going to lie. So leaning into those things that are uncomfortable to you or is really what's going to help you become a more well-rounded, grounded, happier, joy-filled life, right? Because happiness is an inside job. period, end of story. No food can do it, no amount of sex can do it, no amount of money can do it. Happiness is an inside job, and nobody can take that from you. So once you learn how to cultivate that experience within yourself, nobody can take it from you.
Hey, Margie here. High quality supplements are a big part of a comprehensive osteoporosis program. To help you, I offer a significant discount every day in my supplement store through FullScript. FullScript has the most extensive catalog of professional grade supplements and wellness products I've ever found. So all you need to do is go to tinyurl.com. That's tinyurl.com/supplements for less. And you'll get to my FullScript store, and in there, you'll see my favorite bone building supplements. So make sure to check it out, and the link will also be in the show notes. So let's get back to the show. I've been teaching happiness for also over 40 years, and it's just so important. You see people's the glimmer back in their eyes, and they start enjoying life, and everything gets better, health, everything. And so I think this is so important. And I love the fact that you add this to your, with all the people that you work with. Do you want to share what you've seen with all the clients? Like anything that you found so interesting with people who started to incorporate this into their lives?
Well, absolutely. Especially because I was working with the Lyme and the mold and autoimmune mental health, really, really heavy, complex, complicated conditions. And, absolutely, especially while you're going through any kind of treatment, people forget about play. And, I've been told what a beautiful reminder it is over and over and over again, because, sometimes treatment, and it might be a year before you start feeling better, but you can start doing steps today to, like I said, improve your mental health and your mood, which will just, make your treatment and your healing speed up. So people are shocked. It's funny how it's the first habit that falls off a lot of times, because again, it's just not valued in our culture as much as it should be. And so it'd be the first thing to fall off. And then I had a client one time, oh, my anxiety is really bad again. Can you suggest me a supplement? And I said, no. Have you done this? Have you taken time out for play? Have you put your feet in the ground? Have you done your breath work? All these lifestyle things that are free, right? Free to you. And he poo-pooed them. No, I'm not giving you another supplement. Like I said, again, this is an inside job, and it starts with you. And, coming from a person who did not have a blueprint for fun, happiness, unconditional love, any of that, to be able to do that, I know anybody could do it. Someone who had a stick shoved so far up her butt that, I stood there in the corner with my arms crossed during laughter yoga, scowling at everybody. And I told myself to these days, I try something at least 3 times before I say it's not for me, right? Because a lot of times that first and second time is just you getting out of your own way. So you can't actually give it a fair shake. So I try to tell all my clients, do something, try it for at least 3 times before you decide to give up.
And I guess you gave me a good point not to judge. You can't judge. Oh, they look so silly, or that's ridiculous. It's not important, especially when you're going and you work with people with Lyme and mold and chronic conditions, all which are root causes, which affect osteoporosis. And, it's serious. It is serious. Life is serious. That's what I've learned, is that life is serious. There's lots of sad things that can happen, and you can focus on that, and what you focus on grows, and that's your existence. Or you can, yes, that's there and that's not going away, but we can also add these moments of fun, of love, of positivity. And there's also a lot of good that's happening. And so, I think we can, with the humor and with the play, we can create more of that and just lighten up our lives, even while we're going through that. And have you seen people's health? When you're working with all these people and they've added have you seen changes in their health, or quicker recoveries? What have you seen?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And it's funny. So I actually haven't worked with a whole lot of people since I started the stand-up thingy. So I don't have a whole lot of data to choose from. But I do know I have brought a lot of my health into the comedy. So the majority of my bits are around functional health, coffee enemas, mental health, childhood trauma. And it's been beautiful to have people come up to me afterwards and go, "Oh my God, thank you so much for bringing that, into that space. Like I've never heard anybody put it that way before. I've never thought of it that way before." So I'm trying to plant seeds wherever I can. Like I found a bigger audience, because one of my favorite ones is talking about coffee enemas. And I talk about how, I used to feed my kid cereal for breakfast and hot dogs and Kool-Aid for lunch. Let's not forget about those healthy goldfish snacks, for added omegas. And at the age of 2, he was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease directly correlated to his diet. So around that time, that's when I went back to school and I became a functional practitioner. I also became the health nut. We went from Cheerios and Kool-Aid to zucchini chips and coffee enemas. The best part of waking up is Folgers up your butt. No, don't put Folgers up your butt. That stuff's toxic. There's a special kind of coffee for that. So who else out there is, singing songs and talking about coffee enemas on a stage, and making you laugh. So like I said, trying to, like I said, just drop seeds and educate in a different space. I know my comedy's not for everybody, because I've been told it was kind of higher brow, which is great. So some of the people who just want to go to be, mindlessly entertained, which is great. That's got its place too. That's just not me. I don't care how you get your laughs, just get your laughs, right? Like whatever tickles your funny bone, do it, rinse and repeat 3 times a day, because you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at how, my God, my road rage used to be insane. My feelings would get hurt. Like for lack of a better word, I was a Karen. And now, things roll off my back. I'm a little bit more easier going. Like I said, I'm a lot more fun and fun to be around. Before, especially the functional practitioner, I'd go to a barbecue and I could see people immediately like hiding their food from me because they thought that I was going to be like some sort of food Nazi and judge them, and now they see me and their face lights up and they're wondering what the hell craziness is going to come out of my mouth, so it's just a different way to engage with life. And like I said, if nothing else comes out of it, I'm having a blast.
It's really true, though, because it's so easy, when we don't have this fun in our life, when we're not living in the present moment, and when we start incorporating this instead of the waves of life, which can knock you over, you can ride them. And that's what I see. And that's a very, very different life. And that's going to help your bones, and you're just going to have the longevity. I mean, it's really incredible. And even, it's interesting, one of the women who was in my happiness class, who her mom, she started teaching, actually. She took the lefty yoga and started teaching it. But her mom was able to get off all her blood pressure medications. These things happen when people incorporate this fun, this humor, this present moment into their lives. So I love that you completely transformed your life due to this, and that it's I think it's just an important message that I really wanted to share with everybody, because I don't think people think it's possible and they underplay it. They don't realize how so powerful this is. Wow. Well, tell us, I know you have an exciting program because you work with people. I've also had Reed Davis on the podcast in the past. So you work with people on really getting to the root cause in their underlying health and just up-leveling their health. So you want to tell us about like the programs that you have that you will be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the Foundations of Health right now. Pretty soon I'll have a gut inflammation course coming out as well. But the Foundations of Health is just like it sounds. Like we can all learn from going back to the foundations, because a lot of the times, one, we were never taught. We were taught this is a part of a balanced breakfast. Bullshit. That's diabetes in the making, is what that is, right? So diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation. There's a cooking video series within that course. There's a bonus video on toxins, a lot on mindset. And then I have a bonus video in there as well on laughter and humor and healing and all that fun stuff. So they said, if I had a dime for every time somebody come up to me that I started working with, it was like, oh, well, I eat healthy, or, oh, well, I do this. And I realized your crowd is going to be a heck of a lot more educated than the regular Joe Schmoes that I'm kind of working with. But like I said, I have yet to meet anybody who can't benefit a little bit from going back to the beginning and picking up some different foundational work. And I've also like put in somatic experiencing work and breath work. And I've got a beautiful healing meditation within that course as well. So For your folks, when they use the code BONES, it takes $100 off, so the whole course itself is like $79, which is ridiculously affordable, and the information that you get is just life-changing.
Oh, that sounds so great. So the question I have is these, let's tell people, because not people, I think somatic experience is incredible. I think it's so very powerful tool. You want to share what that is? Because I don't think everybody knows what that is. I don't know. Is there something you could take us through even?
Oh, absolutely, I love to.
Do that because
In the beginning, I couldn't do this because I look goofy, but now I'm like, "Let's do it."
I
Uh
just hope people feel it sometimes. They can understand what happened. So yeah, why don't you do
Absolutely. So
that'd be
again, a lot of us, people who have the more predisposition to have chronic illness are also kind of sensitive beings, like, especially sensitive to energy. I was definitely one. I was always carrying people's energies just so close to me. So that's why anything little touched me, and it felt like a mountain out of a molehill, right? Um, so this is somatic experiencing work help get your autonomic nervous system out of fight or flight, right, out of sympathetic and into rest and digest and heal. Um, and so this one's called a VU with a push away, which I learned from Dr. Amy Apigian. I went through her biology of trauma courses, and it's just like it sounds. So you're going to put your arms up next to your shoulders, and we're going to act like we're pushing a boulder away, like it really slow. Like I want you to strain, like I want you to actually. There's a boulder in front of you. At the same time, we're going to say VU, because that humming helps stimulate the vagus nerve, which then also helps calm down. So we get two. We get to like expand our energetic bubble, give us a little bit more space to breathe. And then the VU helps calm down the nervous system as well. So we'll take a deep breath in and out. We go VU. I thought you were doing this with me.
okay, ready? I'll do it with you now.
All right, one more time. Take a deep breath in. Arms up next to your shoulders. Push out. Slower, slower. There you go. Like immediately, like how amazing is that? Like I didn't even realize I was worked up, right? Until I did that.
Wanna
And then I'm
laugh.
like,
It
yeah,
actually
there we
it
go.
actually put a smile on my face, and I actually could have continued laughing with that. I don't know, because it feels so it's so fun, you know?
Right. And then I tell people they can do it out to the side, do it to the top, do it to the bottom, right? Really push out that energetic bubble and give yourself some space.
Oh, I love that. Right, how many different views can you do? Yeah.
Right. That too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, there's
Dinner
just so
table, okay. At the dinner table or whoever you're with in your household, do your views.
I do it at the grocery store because I get a little annoyed with some people's lack of awareness of other people, and I take other people's behavior a little on the personal side. My husband will see me standing there in the grocery store, and he can tell what I'm doing, and he's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, just trying not to kill this, ignorant woman behind me with the screaming 2-year-old," you know? So yeah, so I bust out a VU and a push away whenever I need it. Like, I don't care who's
A
looking
good
or
one
what's watching.
in traffic, right? You're sitting in traffic, you're not moving, you know?
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
thank you, I love that. That's such a good one. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
absolutely, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And so that's part you have these in your program then?
Yep.
The product learning. I think they're so powerful. Can you bring it, as a physical therapist, I'm big into the body. And so often we live in our heads and we don't bring things to the body. But when we bring it to the body, all of a sudden we can really make changes so much quicker. So I love that. That's so great. Well, is there any last minute things you've shared so much? And I just hope people take this seriously about the humor and the fun and all the things that you've shared, how important it is for health and healing. But is there anything else that we didn't talk about or anything that you want to share with everybody before we end?
No, I mean, I think we landed that plane pretty decently, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I'm going to do some booze as the day goes on. And I'll have all the information on your course. And thank you for giving everybody such a big discount to make it so reasonable that people can partake in your program. So,
Absolutely.
all right, I'm gonna make and I have to just say, oftentimes, I don't prioritize, and I love fun. There's no one who enjoys fun more than I do, but I get so busy working, there are times that I forget about it, forget to play. So this is a good reminder to me to just make sure to put it into my life because it does really change the quality of your life and your
I
bones.
say that to my husband. I'm like, all work and no play makes Heather a crazy bitch, which is true. Like, oh, it's you don't want to be around me if I have not given myself enough time to play. It's night and day difference.
Well, thanks for bringing this message home to all of us. And thanks for joining me here today.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Heather as much as I did. I really enjoyed that woo exercise, and I'm going to certainly add that to my life. I think the important takeaway is to prioritize play, fun, joy, laughter, humor, living in the present moment. Because so often we don't, me included. This reminded me how important this is and to just add more of it into my life. The link to the course, the Foundations of Health that Heather talked about, where she's giving us $100 discount, is in the show notes. So thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy your day and laugh. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.